Chosen one. Tonight the walls close in tonight. Someone who orchestrated an elaborate campaign to destroy your reputation is about to crack under the weight of their own lies. They are cornered, desperate, and the only escape route leads straight through a confession they have been avoiding for months. What they believed was their masterpiece of deception is about to become their public admission of guilt. But this story doesn't start with their breakdown. It starts with you standing calm in the center of a storm they created, watching their world collapse while you remain untouched. You have been playing a different game entirely, and they are only now realizing the board was never theirs to control. Before we dive deeper, hit that subscribe button. You are going to want to follow this journey to the end, and I promise the payoff is worth it. Let's talk about the architect of your destruction first, because understanding their psychology reveals the magnitude of what is unfolding. This isn't someone who accidentally fell into manipulation. This is someone who breathes deception like oxygen, who has built their entire existence around constructing false realities and watching people dance to fabricated truths. When they first encountered you, they recognized something that terrified them: authentic power. Not power derived from manipulation or control, but the kind that radiates from someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to compromise that truth for anyone. Your very existence threatened their house of cards because authenticity recognizes counterfeit, and they knew which one they were. So they did what master manipulators do. They studied you, not to understand you, but to map vulnerabilities. They watched how you moved through the world, who you connected with, what mattered to you. They were building a psychological profile, preparing for a war you didn't know was coming. The brilliance of their plan was its complexity. They didn't create one simple lie. They wove an intricate web of half-truths, strategic omissions, and outright fabrications that painted you as everything you weren't: generous. They framed it as manipulation, confident. They called it arrogance, successful. They labeled it corruption. Here is what they didn't anticipate. Their obsession with destroying you would become their own destruction. Every moment spent crafting lies about you was a moment they weren't securing their own crumbling foundation. They became so consumed with your downfall that they neglected everything else. Their methods went beyond simple gossip. This was psychological warfare at its most insidious. They weaponized your own kindness against you. When you tried to be understanding, they painted your generosity as naivety. When you attempted to maintain relationships despite growing tension, they framed your efforts as desperation. Think about how this actually played out. You would reach out to someone to clear the air, and suddenly that private conversation became public ammunition. See how they are trying to control the narrative? They would say you had stepped back to give people space, and they would interpret that as guilt. Notice how they are hiding now. The game was rigged from the start. Every move you made could be twisted into evidence against you. The mastermind specialized in moving goalposts. You would do something completely normal, and they had blow it out of proportion, suddenly imposing new standards that conveniently made your natural behavior seem like a violation. This psychological abuse was designed to make you constantly question yourself, to keep you off balance and reactive, instead of observant and strategic. Here is a specific example of their tactics. They would take something you said months ago, strip away all context, and present it as evidence of your true character. A joke became proof of insensitivity. A moment of vulnerability became evidence of instability. A boundary you set became proof of hostility. They were archaeological excavators of your past, digging up anything they could reframe as damaging. What made their campaign particularly sinister was how they leveraged community dynamics to amplify lies. They didn't just spread rumors, they created echo chambers where their false narrative could reverberate, gaining credibility through repetition rather than truth. They understood that if enough people repeated the same lie, it would start feeling like fact to those not paying close attention. The warning signs were there from the beginning, though most people missed them. The way they spoke about you with just a bit too much certainty. Stories detailed enough to seem credible but vague enough to avoid verification. Emotions that seemed slightly performed rather than genuine. You caught these signals because you are chosen. You see what others miss. Now the second player deserves special attention because their motivation was perhaps the most primal and therefore the most dangerous. This person didn't help destroy you for strategic gain. They did it because your existence reminded them of everything they weren't and could never become. Jealousy is fascinating because it requires the jealous person to constantly acknowledge their target's superiority. Every day they woke up confronting the fact that you possessed something they desperately wanted but couldn't attain. Your natural charisma, your authentic confidence, your ability to attract genuine respect. It served as a daily reminder of their own inadequacy. But instead of using that recognition as motivation for growth, they chose destruction. If they couldn't have what you had, they would make sure you couldn't either. They would drag you down to their level, even if it meant corrupting their own soul. This person became the engine of the rumor mill, enthusiastically spreading every lie the mastermind created. They added their own flourishes, their own interpretations, their own poison to the narrative. They weren't just repeating lies, they were enhancing them, making them more damaging, more believable, more devastating. The beautiful irony is that jealousy blinded them to reality. They were so focused on bringing you down that they failed to notice they were being used as a pawn in someone else's game. The mastermind needed them for their enthusiasm and willingness to get hands dirty, but never intended to share any real power with them. Watch for the signs that have been building, their increasing desperation, their escalating attempts to convince others of your alleged wrongdoing, their growing isolation as people begin seeing through their obsession. They are about to learn that jealousy is poison that destroys the vessel containing it. There is something even more twisted about this accomplice's role. They were willing to sacrifice their own relationships and reputation to see you fall. They burned bridges with mutual friends who refused to join their campaign. They damaged their own credibility by becoming increasingly obsessive and irrational in their attacks. The most telling aspect was how they celebrated every perceived setback in your life, while simultaneously claiming to be the victim of your alleged wrongdoing. This contradiction revealed the true nature of their motivation. They weren't seeking justice or protection. They were seeking the perverse satisfaction of watching someone they envied suffer. You could see it in the small moments, the way their eyes lit up when they heard you faced a challenge, the barely concealed smile when they relayed bad news about you to others, the enthusiasm with which they would share any story that could be interpreted negatively. This wasn't the behavior of someone seeking justice. This was someone feeding an addiction to schadenfreude. And here is what is particularly pathetic about their jealousy. They were obsessed with mimicking you. They would copy your speech patterns, your style choices, even your career moves, but it was always slightly off, like a counterfeit painting where the forger cannot quite capture the essence of the original. They wanted to be you so badly that they studied your every move, yet their very nature prevented them from achieving what came naturally to you. Stay with me here because the third player is where this gets really interesting. Perhaps the most infuriating player was the one who knew better, but chose silence. This person understood from the beginning that the narrative being constructed around you was complete fiction. They had access to information that could have cleared your name immediately. They possessed the moral authority to speak truth and shut down the lies, but they chose complicity over courage. Why? Because your destruction served their purposes somehow. Maybe they needed you out of the way to advance their own agenda. Maybe they enjoyed the drama and chaos. Maybe they were simply too weak to stand against the tide of lies, choosing self-preservation over justice. This person's silence wasn't neutral. It was an active choice to allow injustice to flourish. Every day they remained quiet was another day they participated in your character assassination. Every conversation where they could have spoken truth, but didn't, was another brick in the wall of lies surrounding you. What makes their complicity particularly damaging is that people trusted them. When they remained silent in the face of accusations against you, that silence was interpreted as confirmation. The silent enabler weaponized trust and used their reputation to lend credibility to lies through inaction. Think about the mechanics of this betrayal. They had sit in rooms where you were being discussed, where lies were being spread, and say nothing. They would see text messages filled with fabrications and not correct the record. They had hear someone repeat a complete falsehood and simply nod along. Each instance was a choice, a moment where they could have stood for truth, but chose comfort instead. The silent enabler is often the most dangerous because they maintain plausible deniability. I didn't say anything bad about them. They can claim technically truthful, while ignoring that they didn't say anything good either. They didn't actively participate in the attack, but they held the door open for the attackers. They didn't throw punches, but they prevented anyone from stopping the fight. What is fascinating is their self-perception. They likely see themselves as neutral, as staying out of drama, as not taking sides. But in a situation where someone is being unjustly attacked, neutrality is not noble. It is cowardice dressed in the costume of wisdom. But here is what none of them understood. Silence under pressure reveals character more clearly than words ever could. While they were failing this fundamental test of integrity, you were taking notes. You were learning exactly who could be trusted when the narrative turned ugly, who had the backbone to stand for truth when it was inconvenient. Now, let me tell you what is about to happen, and why their carefully constructed conspiracy is about to implode spectacularly. The foundation of their entire operation was built on a critical assumption that they could maintain a unified front, that the mastermind, the jealous accomplice, and the silent enabler would all keep their stories straight, would all maintain their commitment to the false narrative, would all resist the mounting pressure to tell the truth. That assumption is about to be proven catastrophically wrong. Here is what they didn't account for. Conspiracies require trust, and people who are willing to lie about you are also willing to lie to each other. The very character traits that made them willing to participate in your destruction are the same traits that make them unreliable allies to one another. The cracks started appearing weeks ago, small inconsistencies in their stories, moments where one person's version of events didn't quite align with another's little betrayals, where one would subtly distance themselves from the other's most extreme claims. These weren't accidents. They were warning signs of an alliance starting to fracture. The pressure has been building. People are asking harder questions. The inconsistencies are becoming more obvious. The emotional energy required to maintain the lies is exhausting them. And beneath it all, each of them is starting to realize a terrifying truth. They are not just fighting to maintain the false narrative anymore. They are fighting to protect themselves from the consequences when it collapses. You can see the strain if you know where to look. The mastermind's carefully controlled facade is cracking. They are making mistakes they never would have made 6 months ago. The jealous accomplice is becoming increasingly erratic, their attacks more desperate and less calculated. The silent enabler is visibly uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact, changing subjects when your name comes up. They are all experiencing the psychological phenomenon of cognitive dissonance at an unbearable level. They know the truth, but they have invested so much in the lie that admitting it would mean confronting their own moral bankruptcy. So they double down, even as the foundation crumbles beneath them, and collapse it will, because tonight one of them breaks. I cannot tell you yet which one goes first. Whether it is the mastermind realizing their grand scheme has become a liability, the jealous accomplice whose obsession finally consumes them completely, or the silent enabler whose guilt becomes unbearable. But I can tell you this, once one domino falls, the rest follow rapidly. When the first confession comes, it will not be graceful. It will be messy, desperate, and incomplete. They will try to minimize their own role while shifting blame to the others. They will claim they were manipulated or pressured. They will insist their intentions were misunderstood, but the truth will be there, buried in their excuses and justifications. And once the first crack appears, the flood begins. The other conspirators, realizing they are about to be thrown under the bus, will rush to tell their own versions. Each will try to paint themselves as the least culpable, the most sympathetic, the one who always had doubts. They will turn on each other with the same viciousness they once directed at you, the same weapons they used against you. Lies, manipulation, character assassination are now being turned inward. The method of their attack has become the method of their destruction. Here is something crucial I need you to understand. This vindication isn't just about clearing your name, it is about revealing the stark contrast between authentic power and manufactured influence. While they were busy playing political games and building false narratives, you were simply being yourself, and that authenticity proved more powerful than all their schemes combined. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever faced a situation where someone tried to destroy your reputation? How did you handle it? Your story might help another chosen one who is going through this right now. As their confessions pour forth, your vindication will not just be complete, it will be overwhelming. Every lie they told about you will be exposed as projection. Every accusation they made will be revealed as deflection. Every character flaw they attributed to you will be shown to exist in them instead. The false narrative they constructed required them to ignore your actual character, dismiss your real contributions, and fabricate motivations that never existed. But truth surfaces, especially when built on the testimony of people who have never valued honesty in the first place. Their confession is going to reveal something they never intended, just how extraordinary you actually are. For them to go to such lengths to destroy your reputation, for them to invest so much time and energy manufacturing lies, for them to recruit multiple people in their campaign. That speaks volumes about the power and threat your authentic self represents to their false world. But here is where your chosen nature truly shines. This experience hasn't broken you or even diminished you. Instead, it has forged you into something stronger. You have been tested in the fire of injustice and emerged not just intact, but transformed. You now possess something invaluable, the ability to see through facades instantly. You can spot manipulation from miles away. You understand the difference between authentic relationships and transactional ones. You know who stands with you when the narrative is uncertain, and who has the courage to speak truth when lies are more convenient. Observation, pattern recognition, emotional resilience, strategic thinking. These aren't just survival mechanisms. They are abilities that will serve you for the rest of your life. You have been upgraded through adversity. Let me be specific about what you have gained. You now recognize the early warning signs of manipulation, the love bombing followed by devaluation, the strategic isolation from support systems, the gaslighting disguised as concern. You understand how rumors spread and how to identify the source. You can read body language and micro-expressions that reveal when someone's words don't match their intentions. You have developed emotional armor without becoming emotionally closed. You can protect yourself without becoming cynical. You can maintain healthy skepticism without losing your capacity for trust. This is the balance that most people never achieve, remaining open to connection while being impossible to fool. More importantly, you have learned to trust your own judgment completely. When everyone around you was telling you that you were wrong about yourself, you held on to your truth. When the entire social environment was gaslighting you, you maintained your grip on reality. That level of self-trust is unshakable and invaluable. You have also gained something else, a refined ability to identify your true tribe. The people who stood with you during this aren't just friends, they are family forged in fire. They prove their character when it cost them something to stand by you. That kind of loyalty is rare and precious. As the dust settles and truth becomes widely known, you will find yourself in a completely transformed social landscape. People who participated in your character assassination will be discredited and isolated. Those who remained neutral will be exposed as lacking courage. And those few who stood with you during dark times will be revealed as people of genuine integrity. This clearing of the social environment isn't just vindication. It is purification. You are no longer surrounded by people willing to believe lies about you without evidence. You are no longer in relationships with individuals who could be manipulated into turning against you. You are no longer wasting energy on people who don't deserve your trust. The new relationships you build from this point forward will be based on truth, authenticity, and mutual respect. People will approach you with genuine admiration for how you handled this situation. They will be drawn to your proven integrity and unshakable character. Your reputation isn't just restored, it is enhanced. You are now known not only for your talents and achievements, but for your resilience, your integrity, and your ability to maintain your authentic self under extreme pressure. These are rare qualities that command genuine respect. The most satisfying aspect: you didn't have to compromise your integrity to achieve it. You didn't have to become like them to defeat them. You didn't have to lie, manipulate, or scheme. You simply had to remain true to yourself. And that truth became their undoing. Their own methods destroyed them. Their lack of integrity created the instability that brought down their entire conspiracy. Their willingness to betray others created the conditions for their own betrayal. They were defeated not by you, but by the natural consequences of their own choices. This is the difference between temporary tactical victories and sustainable strategic success. They achieved some short-term wins through deception, but their methods contained the seeds of their own destruction. You, by maintaining integrity, built something that couldn't be torn down because it was based on truth. Chosen ones don't win by becoming like their enemies. They win by being so authentically themselves that their enemies destroy themselves trying to bring them down. Your light didn't just expose their darkness. It blinded them to their own weaknesses until it was too late. Remember how this began, you standing untouchable in the eye of their hurricane, watching their world implode while remaining unshaken. That image returns now, transformed and elevated. You are still standing, but now everyone can see what you always knew, that their storm had no power over your foundation. The false narrative they built against you is now evidence of their own corruption. Every lie they told reflects back on their character. Every manipulation they attempted exposes their true nature. Every scheme they participated in reveals who they really are beneath carefully constructed facades. You are chosen, and this experience has proven it beyond any doubt. You survived their worst attacks. You maintained your sanity when they tried to make you question your reality. You held on to your integrity when they tried to convince you that you were the problem. You preserved your authentic self when they attempted to rewrite your story. The storm they created to destroy you has passed, leaving you stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever. Their confession is coming, their truth is emerging, and your vindication is complete. You didn't just survive their attack, you transformed it into your triumph. This is what it means to be chosen. Not that you are exempt from attacks, but that you are capable of turning those attacks into your advantage. Not that you will not face lies, but that you will emerge from them with your truth shining brighter than ever. Not that you will not encounter enemies, but that you will defeat them simply by being who you are. The false narrative they built against you is dead. Your authentic story lives on, stronger and more compelling than ever. You are vindicated, you are victorious, and you are just getting started.